It's just because we are super in touch with our sensuality, sexuality, and I'm able to bring that more out of women when I meet them. So some of that has been becoming less judgmental and realizing where I was judgmental and how my being judgmental comes across, and just being more accepting, and then taking action. So it's not something that's just in my head that needs to happen. I go out and I take action, and I'm more accepting and less judgmental of people in general, and women in particular, and also really willing to be sexual with a woman, to not treat sex as something that needs to take place behind closed doors, to touch her in public and hold hands or whatever else during the day, not in a dark corner of a bar at night that I picked out as a cool isolation location. All these things are happening that weren't happening before because I'm able to do that, and I'm still working on it, but I'm willing to fail. I'm willing to fail all the time. I don't take it personally, and eventually it's not going to be something that I'm practicing anymore. It's just going to be a part of who I am, and it's going to be a part of what I'm doing. And because I can do that during the day, like when I walk into a venue at night, it's going to make me that much more sharp.
Right.
Because I'm going to be exuding a lot more sexuality, because I'm used to having that be on the front of the book during the middle of the day, and not something that I kind of have tucked away. And so because it's just wide open and it's out there, women in a bar looking to meet a guy, it's more apparent to them that that's a cool guy to go home with when I walk in, because I have much more sexuality on display than a guy who thinks like sex needs to be secret and private.
Generally, like if a guy thinks like that, he doesn't realize that it'll be almost impossible for him to transition to the sexual. It'll be very difficult, because if you're just in non-sexual mode, you approach the girl and you're kind of being like very friendly, very platonic. The longer you persist in that mode, the harder it's going to be to eventually transition into being more sexual, being more masculine and whatnot. But if you start out in that mode, then it's much easier to just deal with logistics and just deal with the physical aspect.
Yeah.
So you got to start out in that mindset, and in that having that energy and that basic vibe in your body, in your facial expressions, in your mind. And
you're making a really good point, because I feel like guys have some terrible ideas intuitively. Not all guys, but many guys, about like how to meet women, and a lot of us started out trying to be nice, like, oh, hey, look at me, I'm talking to you now, and I'm being so sweet, and I'm being so nice, and I'm just trying to be your friend. And then we're like pissed off later on when, oh, I've been friend zoned, and I don't understand why she's dating all these guys, and they're assholes, and look at me, I'm so nice, and I'm just her friend, and that's all I'll ever be.
He was non-sexual,
like, so that's the intent that you telegraph to her, and you're wondering why she's trying to hold you to your word, and what you telegraphed in the beginning, when what you should have been was sexual, but you didn't want to face that rejection up front. Well, guess what? You just deferred it. And you're running into what you deferred now, but it was always going to be like this. Right.
And it becomes even worse of a feeling when you've gone for 6 months or 2 years or whatever, and then she rejects, and then it's like kind of comes to a head. There's like a grand finale,
Yeah.
It's like a big confrontation, as opposed to just expressing that interest up front, and then either she's interested or she's not, and then you go from there.
Right. And I think that a lot of it is this craving to be perfect and to not fail, not make mistakes, not ever face rejection. I don't even really feel like I get rejected now, per se.
I think that, it's really good to replace the concept of rejection with the concept of just not being compatible.
Yeah.
Like you two just were not on the same page, you were not compatible at that moment.